Oh
in
yeah,
politics.
so back to my friend Sanjay. So he has been constantly shut down by with his proposals by the Coast Guard and the Defense Force. And even though, well, he's pointing out the fact that they're not doing their job and there's systemic corruption and systemic incompetence. That is why we cannot secure our borders. We have radar systems. We have a lot of boats. We could be if we were diligent.
Yeah. All right. So Nikolai Edwards, when I talked to him, he was saying that his original plan was to try to get into one of the political parties, like most likely PNM, because let's face it, his skin color, and that's how it will work.
He's a Douglas, you know.
Serious?
Yeah, but just because he looks a certain
Yeah.
way, there's so much
Yeah,
racism in
exactly.
this
So
country.
much racism.
I look more Indian or Syrian, so people assume something, but
Yeah, people assume I Venezuelan or something, and I actually have no Venezuelan in me.
I have a little bit.
Yeah, that's one of the few things I don't have in me. Yeah, so he was saying that his plan was to actually sort of get into one of the political parties and try to get a lot of youths and our generation to get into the party and change the party from the inside. But then he realized that it's just so much that he'll have to change in those parties. He would never, like, it'll be way too difficult to do. And chances are with the amount of fight
be
back
a
he'll
old
get.
man.
Yeah,
by the
and
time
with
we
the amount of
finish.
fighting back that he will get, he might never be able to make a difference. And that's what pushed him to start his own thing. Even though he knows he might not win. Like, I told him flat out, like, I don't think he'll win this election. But
He knows that.
regardless of that, like, you need to stay in after you lose. Because it might be next election, might be the election afterwards. You mightn't win until you're 55. But guess what? If you still have the same ideals, because I thought his ideas made sense. So I was like, if you still have those ideals and you get that far, then it'll still be a massive success.
Yeah, I still think even though I would, if I were in the United States, I might end up being more conservative. We need him as a liberal because we need the politics to become sensible and ideological, not about race, because the politics silently fuels racism in this country, and we take it for granted that we haven't ended up like Jamaica or Lebanon or somewhere else where the political strife has ended up in conflict and bloodshed. But we can't assume that we will always be that way, especially with the amount of guns in the streets.
True. I think right now there are just a lot of things happening, and because we have not had a real crisis in a long time, I think the last crisis was the 1990 coup. You know, like we are saying the politicians mostly, just sort of doing more and more to see, like, because they get away with it. They raise gas price, they get away with it. You know, they giving Chinese contracts to get away with it. They sell Petrotrin or whatever.
Well, yeah,
They
that's
get away
the
with
thing.
it. They're taking $1 billion loans and our economy in
China.
a bad state, and nothing happening. The country's still running, people still going to work, and we're still having the same 2 meters a day. So
the
it's
thing
just
is, I would say
reason to
the
change.
political psyche of our country is very weak. As in, if we were France, half the nonsense that went on in government, like between Sandals and the Dragon Gas deal, and like the same thing I told you at the beginning of the podcast with our foreign policy. If we continue down that road, we will end up like Cuba and have no food coming from America in the ports. If we don't stop playing with Maduro. But we just ignore it. If we were France, we would have burned down a port of Spain like how they burned down Paris.
Yeah, with
And
the
we'll
yellow
get a
vest.
change. Yes.
Yeah, because what they did, they just raised the tax on fuel.
It was a lot of austerity measures, but you have to, the people's voice has to be heard even after the election.
Yeah.
Your existing representatives have to know that they cannot do nonsense. We don't do that.